Right, so today we are talking about Ontario Tech Draws, Ontario Tech Program, which has just been announced yesterday under the Ontario Immigration and Nominee Program under their HCP, which is Human Capital Priorities Stream. So today's video is going to be, or rather this broadcast is going to be about what comes under this, what NOCs we are looking at, what are the minimum eligibility criteria, and how will Ontario go about this program. So let me just open this site quickly. So I don't get lost on the way. Okay, all right. So, yep, I have it here. No, I lost it again. Tribulations in a tech world, right? Okay, so first and foremost, let's talk about HCP, which is Human Capital Priority Stream. What's it all about? It is a generic stream under Ontario Immigration Nominee Program where they intend to invite candidates or profiles from the express entry pool who are in the express entry pool with a score of 400 plus. Actually, 400 plus was their criteria about a year or so back. And then after the new immigration ministry took over, or the new government in Ontario took over, there was a change. And then they said 400 is not the requirement anymore. And the program director of immigration in Ontario will decide for each particular draw what the scores, eligibility scores are going to be. Based on that, so basically there is no more requirement of 400 CRS as minimum for this particular program. But what are the other requirements? Let's talk about that very quickly. We're going to talk about only human capital priorities because as of right now, nothing much is happening on anything else anywhere in Ontario. And Tech Draw, which has just been announced, is a hot news. So we said, okay, let's get more clarity on this. You need to have a valid express entry profile. You do not need to recreate it. That was a problem sometime back, again in 2017. Ontario would pick only the newer profiles at that point of time. As seen in the recent draws and recent trends, they have no such preference or no such favor or no such bias. So please do not run and recreate your profile just for this. You don't need to do it. There is no requirement or there is no criteria to create your profile again if it's already valid. But if it's going to expire anytime soon, then I would suggest you create one anyways, because you're expected to have your profile valid throughout the process. And once it expires, then you need to go back to Ontario, ask them to relink your nomination, and it sort of creates more hassle. So the best thing would be to sort of have a profile which will probably be valid throughout the nomination process. So that's the first criteria, that you should have an active, eligible, valid express entry profile. You could apply under the Federal Skilled Worker Program or under Canadian Experience Class. Both of them are fine. Again, if you're applying under Federal Skilled Worker Program, then again, you need to have 67 points met. I guess that's the only way you can have your express entry profile, right? But that's the criteria, so I'm just going through that. One very specific criteria change or other criteria requirement in Ontario is that your work experience has to be within the last 5 years. Okay, it can't be. So let's say if you have worked in a particular NOC, let's say 2173 in the year 2012. 2013, then unfortunately that work experience is not considered valid for Ontario Immigration Nominee Program under HCP. So if you're applying, or rather if you want to be considered under the Human Capital Priority Stream for Ontario, your work experience under Federal Skilled Worker Program or under Federal Skilled Worker Program should be within the last 5 years. So you should have at least 1 year work experience, valid work experience within the last 5 years. Your NOC that you're choosing, okay, it should be the primary NOC which they're going to target. This is their primary requirement, and of course before I forget the major requirement or the criteria, you need, I mean, it's a requirement, so it's a must. You must have at least an equivalency of a Canadian bachelor's degree or a master's degree or a postdoctorate, etc., etc. So I know it sucks for a lot of you out there who may not have at least a bachelor's degree, but they have sufficient work experience. Unfortunately, Ontario will not consider you eligible. You will need to have your bachelor's degree ECA done at least and have an equivalency of at least a bachelor's degree. So that's a must, that's a criteria. Apart from that, what else do we have? Yes, and if it's a Canadian experience class, then you must have at least 1 year work experience within the last 3 years. Again, so these are the basic requirements, basic criteria for HCP or Human Capital Priority Stream under the Ontario Immigration Nominee Program. In 2017, Ontario was very specific and they chose certain IT or information technology NOCs and they gave them a direct NOI, which is notification of interest. We didn't see any of that happening in 2018. We heard a bit of it early 2019, and thankfully yesterday they announced that they were going to target certain NOCs or certain occupations in IT industry and send them notifications of interest. The 6 NOCs that have been targeted, and I seem to have lost that again. Let me just check. Which ones were those? Let's see. Yes, okay. So the 6 NOCs that have been announced is 2172, 2173, 2174, 2175, and 2147 and 0213. So very quickly, 2170, NOC 2172 is analysts and data administrators. 2173 is software engineers and designers. 2174 is computer programmers and interactive media developers. 2175 is web designers and developers. 2147 is computer engineers, and NOC 0213, which is computer and information systems managers. The difficult one is that they haven't included 2171, which a lot of you have asked why. I wish I could give you that answer. I can't. This is the decision of the OINP, and they have chosen not to include 2171 at this point of time. So unfortunately, if your NOC is 2171, then you will not be included in any of their draws that they conduct. Now, on all these in all the NOCs that I've just spoken about, you must make sure that these are your primary NOC. So basically, if you're a 2173, then 2173 must be your primary NOC, and your work period must be within the last 5 years in order for you to be eligible for them to pick your profile for NOI. So this, by and large, is their requirement. This, by and large, is how they will go ahead. They have also mentioned that they will continue to sort of send notifications of interest to non-tech NOCs as well. And these were the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about 10 NOCs they had identified earlier in the last draw, I think, happened May. And they had very clearly stated that these are the targeted occupations where they will be sending out notifications. Very quickly, these were 0114, 0601, 1122, 0124, 0621, 111, 3012, 0111, 1114, and 0651. These are the 10 NOCs that they picked, or rather they indicated are the non-tech targeted occupations. You will find all of this on the Ontario immigration website. So don't have to fret if you have missed out any of the NOCs. Please go to the Ontario website and you will find all these NOCs listed there. So far, or rather, let's talk about the last data trend so that I can give you an indication of what's coming. Last year, based on what they have published or announced, they gave notifications to roughly 2,500 people from the express entry pool. I'm saying no nominations. So I'm sorry. They issued nominations to at least 2,500 people. They gave much more in terms of notifications of interest. So NOI does not mean nomination, because a lot of people get the notifications of interest. They may not actually see it through. They may not actually go through with it. So they don't really convert into nominations. Ontario understands that. And therefore, they obviously issue more notifications of interest. So under this particular stream, they did issue about 2,500 nominations last year, give or take a few. I don't know the exact number there. So it's expected a similar number probably will be drawn this year, or will basically approximately 2,500 people will get nominated from Ontario under the human capital priority stream this year as well. Based on that, in January, they issued roughly 1,500 notifications of interest. The CRS range that they issued these notifications of interest, it was a generic draw, but they did not announce any targeted occupations, and everybody was in the blind. They did not know what Ontario was doing. And this draw was for CRS 439 to 448. Then again, they changed it, or rather, they came out in May after a long wait of nearly 5 months, and they issued roughly 1,072 notifications of interest, and that was again for CRS with a minimum CRS of 439 going up to 469. This was when that terrible draw of 470 happened. And so this was the range that they picked up NOCs from. But in May, they did announce the targeted occupations that they were considering when they were sending out these notifications of interest. So at least we have some clarity as to what Ontario will do, who they will pick up, when they will pick up in terms of the NOCs. Okay. Now the next big question, which is on everybody's mind, is what will be their CRS range. Okay. Usually, if you again go back and see how they have played it ever since they have been drawing these ranges, it has always been in tandem with the express entry draw. And this is one of the reasons why I'm doing the video today, is because there has just been a draw today. Okay, and the draw today was 460 for the people who are aware, and 3,600 ITAs were issued, which is a good news, because that shows an upward trend in the number of ITAs being issued, which basically means we can expect that many, or rather we can expect a faster drop in CRS as and when the time goes. That also indicates that Ontario draw, whenever it happens, and I would expect it to happen very soon, because if they have made these announcements, then a draw should be somewhere around the corner. At least that's what I'm keeping my fingers crossed for and hoping. Then you would expect that the draw would somewhere be upward range, obviously will be 459, and the lower range, they have for some reason, some preference for 439 for whatever reason. So yes, definitely, I mean, I'm sure they will go until 439 for sure. But earlier in January, when they went from 439 to 448, it was a generic draw, but they did issue 1,500 NOCs, 1,500 notifications of interest. Then in May, the range was much larger. It was 439 to 469, but they issued only 1,000 notifications of interest, but there were 10 NOCs which were targeted. This time, when we expect them to now announce a draw anytime soon, we know the upper range is going to be 459, or if they do it after the next draw, then probably somewhere closer to the draw next that happens. But the lower range is what most of you are concerned about, okay? So we know for a fact, or I wouldn't say for a fact, but we can assume that at least until 439 will definitely be covered. I am going to hope that they will bump it lower to sort of account for maybe more people in the pool. So I probably will be hoping something like 435, 436, maybe 437, hopefully. Or for example, if it doesn't happen in the next draw, wherever Ontario does it, then probably they will have another one and go a bit lower than that as well. At least I would like to see that happening, because I know there are so many of you who are stuck in that 430, 440 range, then there are so many of you who deserve to sort of, get out of the pool and get your application processing. I mean, even lower than 430. I mean, I don't want to isolate anybody below 430 as such, but I'm just saying there are so many of you out there who deserve to sort of, get through. You've been waiting for a very long time. You have excellent work experience, and I'm sure you can contribute to the Canadian economy in every which way possible. Unfortunately, it's a numbers game, right? And because the fact that it's a numbers game, even people who are choosing, how do they choose? Even they have a predicament. They can only bring in so many people, and obviously they want to choose the best of the best because they want to give the benefit of that to their province. So I don't really blame them when they try to pick the top scorers in any pool. It's a survival of the fittest kind of a mindset. But I really feel I cringe sometimes when I realize that there are so many more people who are losing out probably because their birthdays just happened. They lost 5 points, or they missed out on that 0.5 in their IELTS factor. Not that they can't speak English, not that they can't write English, not that they can't listen or understand English. It's just that on that particular exam date where you were taking your IELTS exam, you just missed out on that 0.5, and it sort of makes such a big difference on your application. But unfortunately, this is the world that we are in, and we got to go and abide by the numbers. So unfortunately, this is what we are playing with. So while I would say 439 looks like pretty safe for it to happen, and I'm hoping that it sort of goes lower, anything less than 420 as of right now, the way I would assume, I don't want to say it, but yeah, it's looking a bit difficult unless Ontario goes out and really sends out a lot of notifications to a lot of people, and puts a blanket, or rather sends out a blanket notifications to people. And if that happens, then yeah, anything can happen. But given the number of people in the pool as of today, and there are plenty, just today's draw, let me just pull up this, just hold on for a minute. Right. So I'm just pulling out today's draw that happened, and I just want to sort of go through the pool breakdown with you very quickly. So this pool breakdown is as of July 5th. Okay. And it said between 451 and 600, there were 6,300 people. Now, mind you, this is July 5th, and we are on the July 10th already. So last 5 or 6 days, there would have been X number of people who would have got added. So you probably can look at this figure to be closer to 7,000 plus. And then between 441 and 450, there is another 7,100 people. Again, because it's July 5th, you could expect this figure to be higher. And then when 431 to 440, there is 9,649 people. If I just do a very, very quick math, this is roughly 23,000 people that you're looking at. Even after 3,600 people have drawn today, you are still looking at more than 20,000, some odd number of people currently in the pool who are waiting for their draws to sort of come, or rather draws to happen. Out of these 20,000 people, you can imagine there are lots of you who actually qualify under this criteria of human capital priorities of Ontario Tech Draw. So you will definitely be 2172, 73, 74, 75, and which was the other one? I keep forgetting this. Yes, 0213, and which one did I forget? 2147. Yes, these 6 NOCs. So I'm sure so many of you are in this particular pool. So again, the million-dollar question why most of you have tuned in today is that, will Ontario pick a lower number than 439? Honestly, I don't know. I wish I knew. I wish I had that magic wand to sort of figure out what exactly is running in their minds, or what is their strategy, or maybe I had a mole in their office to figure out what's happening there. I don't, unfortunately, and neither does anybody out there, or at least you will not find it on YouTube for sure. Can we expect lower than 439? I certainly hope so. And I've just gone on a rant about that. But 439 is something which I would assume is probably that will be seen. For some reason, they have a liking to the figure of 439. In the ranges that they have picked, the lowest that they have gone is, I think, 432 or 433, was it? In 2018, I don't remember the figure, 432 or 433. That was the figure that they went down until when they were picking profiles. So I'm certainly hoping that they do. But in the meantime, what do people do when they get a notification of interest? Now, because these draws are happening in tandem with express entry, okay? So people who will now be getting notifications of interest, what do you have to keep in mind? One thing that you have to keep in mind is that once you get a notification of interest, you have 45 calendar days to submit your application to Ontario, okay? 45 calendar days, okay, not business days, 45 calendar days, okay, which basically means you effectively have at least 2 express entry draws that you can, wait for and see if the draws or of the scores are going to drop and they're going to come anywhere closer to the CRS. So for example, let's give an example on top of my head. Let's say you are at 455 or you are at 452 or 454, 453, those kind of scores, right? The tricky ones as of today. And you get a notification of interest, let's say tomorrow. So now you're wondering, should I take it? Should I not take it? Should I take it? Should I not take it? Well, because at the end of the day, it matters because you are going to spend 1,500 Canadian dollars. That's the fee for Ontario Nominee Program. So if you file your application, you will have to spend 1,500 Canadian dollars. I personally think it's worth it because, go for it. But if you're at the score of 455, 453, 454, those kind of scores, if you get notification of interest, I would suggest wait. Wait for at least 2 draws because you will have 40 days. So the best thing to do would be prepare your documents, get all your documents in order, gather everything, upload everything to Ontario's system portal where you will be submitting your application. Don't click yet because you'll have to pay. Wait for the next 2 draws because you will have that period in your hand to see what CIC is doing. If you feel your score is within the range or within the touching range or within the touching distance that you will get a direct ITA, then it's your call. You can choose not to go ahead and go take that chance. In the meantime, if the draws do come down or the scores do come down and you get a direct ITA, so then you can abandon your notification of interest and just go the express entry way because that's the ultimate goal, isn't it? But if you think it's not going anytime, if it's not going down anytime soon, if it's not coming anywhere close to your score, then I would say just take that jump or take that plunge of $1,500. To hell with it. You will recover your $1,500 faster than just waiting wherever you're waiting, and having all these anxious moments. Trust me when I say this, and I've said this for Alberta as well earlier, that a bird in hand is better than 2 in the bush, right? It's an old saying. So you may as well get the nomination, get the 600 points, get your ITA and be more relaxed and comfortable versus, chewing your teeth away, nervous and thinking whether the scores are going to come down or not, whether you'll get an ITA or not. That's a real, stressful situation. So the choice is yours, but at the same time, think and gauge properly. You will have that 45-day period in your hand to sort of decide. So if you get a notification of interest, get your documents in order, prepare them all because you will need it anyways. Most of the documents are same. You will need them for your application even if you get ITA. But when you're applying for Ontario Nominee Program, you do not need PCCs, you do not need your medicals. So those 2 do not need. You will need those after you get your ITA from CIC, from federal. But apart from that, all other documents, your proof of funds, your reference letters, your ECA, your IELTS, all this documentation you will need for Ontario as well as for express entry, for your federal application later. So may as well get them in order, get them together, put them up on the portal and be ready to apply. So in case you realize the draw is not going anywhere closer to your score, go ahead and apply. If you think the draws are coming very close to what you are perched at, then by all means decide to wait if you have to or go with it anyways. But anybody who is under 450, the tricky ones, or rather not the tricky ones anymore, the ones who really do not know what to do, the 449s, the 448s, the 447s, 6s, 5s, 4s, 3, 2, 1, 440s. Guys, if you get a notification of interest from Ontario, take it. Don't think. It could be an expensive advice I'm giving you. It could be an expensive suggestion I'm making because it will cost you $1,500. But I've just explained now that it would be better if you are more relaxed, knowing what's happening versus not knowing what's going to happen, because nobody knows if CIC is going to increase the number of ITAs. Nobody knows if CIC will do back-to-back draws consecutively. Nobody knows that. And even if they do, we do not know when that is going to happen. as I said, it's very stressful. The anxiety levels really peak up because waiting for these draws. So if you're in the 440s, take it. Don't even think about it. It will cost you 1,500 Canadian dollars, but trust me, it's worth it. It's just worth the peace of mind you will have once you know you're getting a nomination, once you have your 600 points, once you know for a fact you will get your ITA, versus just not knowing which way this express entry draws are going. So that's more or less all that I can tell you about Ontario tech draws. I'm very excited because it's great news. Thankfully, they have decided to sort of acknowledge the largely ignored IT NOCs, and they've been ignoring IT NOCs for a very long time. Rather, everybody's been ignoring IT NOCs for a very long time. We haven't heard of much happening with IT NOCs since 2017 late, and whole of 2018 didn't see any preferences for IT NOCs. So it's great. It's an awesome news to start with. But are pretty undecisive. So I hope whatever I've said today to you makes a bit of sense, because remember, you have 45 days to make the decision. And yeah, that's basically all that I have here. Yeah, okay, perfect. Let me quickly see what questions you guys have here. Okay. Wow. How often? Okay, let's take this one first, because I wish I could go through all these questions together. But I think most of this I've already answered. I'm sorry, guys, but I'm not taking any question which is not related to this Ontario Tech Program, because then we are just opening a huge Pandora's box, and I really do not think we can do it right now. Okay, so one question here says, what are the chances for CRS 360? Well, I wish there are good chances, but there aren't. Unfortunately, as of right now, at least I don't see it happening. And the reason for that is primarily, as I just explained, there are just too many people already in the pool with better scores. So Ontario has absolutely no incentive in picking profiles who do not have high scores. As I said, it's they only have so many notifications they can send. They only have so much of quota they need to fulfill for nomination this year, and they will obviously pick the best. And when I'm saying the best, it doesn't mean somebody who's at 450 is better than somebody who's at 360. But unfortunately, this is the matrix that they follow, and the scores matrix is something which is, if the age is not on your side, then it's not on your side. But they have to go with some scoring, right? And unfortunately, anything below 400 is unlikely the way I look at it as of now. Anything under 420 also looks very. Are we stuck here? It looks. If and when Ontario decides to send more notifications of interest, or they decide to do consecutive draws for NOIs, for ITs, for IT NOIs, I'm sorry, for IT NOCs. But keep in mind, they will also be issuing out notifications of interest to the non-tech NOCs. So I do not see them picking. Guys, can anybody get the phone there, please? So I do not see this happening in a jiffy. So unfortunately, this is how it is. If your score is high enough, you have a good chance of getting picked. If your score is not in that range where they will be picking, then it probably will not happen anytime soon. But these things are speculative. Whatever I'm saying is speculation, because nobody knows inside what's happening in the Ontario office. We are just going by basic understanding of how the whole system works. We're going by the basic understanding of how much quota is available, how many notifications of interest that they have that they will want to issue. And that's basically how we try and do this calculated speculation. Otherwise, nobody knows exactly what's going to happen tomorrow, right? They might suddenly wake up and say, okay, everybody above 300 gets it. But who's to say? Unfortunately, I wish I had a more positive answer to that. I don't. Any other questions that are interesting here that anybody else would benefit out of? Again, guys, if your NOC is nothing to do with IT, as of right now, I don't have an answer. I do not know whether they will pick, they will not pick, they will target, they will not target. They have said very clearly the only targeted occupations will be based on their labor market survey or based on their, I mean, they have probably a committee of people who goes out and checks with different businesses within the province, within the labor market requirements, and based on that, they choose which occupations they will target. They targeted 10 NOCs under the non-tech. Whether they will continue with these 10 NOCs or whether they will change these 10 non-tech targeted occupations, we don't know. And we will have to just hold our breath and keep waiting and see what they will come back with. Until such time, I've got nothing else to add, and most of your questions are pretty similar. Somebody says my NOC 2173 and 2175 are overlapping. Guys, choose one and whichever is a better match. I know 2173 and 2174 are very similar match, and when I'm saying better match, I basically means, and when I'm saying it's a better match, I basically mean that you will get a reference letter which will validate your NOC, which is the most important factor. You should get a reference letter with substantial number of duties and responsibilities mentioned in the reference letter which will match the NOC that you choose. So choose one, whichever it is, 2173, 2174, 2175, whichever one you think is a good match for your job roles and responsibilities, go with it. Make it your primary NOC. Show your proper work period within the last 5 years in your work history, and keeping fingers crossed, hopefully you will get your notification of interest. Okay, somebody's asking any idea how many people of a certain NOCs are in the pool? No, there is no way to understand that because that data is not released. It is a IT industry keep contacting, keep touching base with all the time and asking us for different details. So unfortunately, there is no way to figure out. So unfortunately, there's no way to figure out if how many people under one NOC are available in the pool. Okay. Yes, Dave, sorry, the video is breaking up a bit. I think the network here is not the best. Unfortunately, that's a bit of an issue here.